and welcome. We'll let a few more join in before we get started with this session this morning, but happy to see everybody. Ariel, can you let me know in the chat if you can hear me?
Hi, Lisa.
Erica, how are you?
I am well, and we are just leaving that capability versus capacity conversation. The ladies are headed over here for this second day of the View from the E-Suite Women's Professional Empowerment Symposium, and I am so excited to welcome Lisa Anderson. This is your first time to the E-Suite,
It is,
but
absolutely.
you have been doing things for women, helping to advance women and business owners, entrepreneurs for decades. I can say it's been more than one, two decades, and really doing that, doing great things in the Washington, D.C. area and beyond. Lisa is an award-winning small biz growth strategist, a GovCon expert, speaker, and accountant. She helps consultants become CEOs and scale their way to legacy. Her mission is to help a million achieve millions. Lisa has helped her clients achieve as much as 400% growth within 12 months and rank on the Inc. 5000 list by showing them how to leverage the power of relationships to scale their businesses and build their empires. I am going to let her share more about her passions and about her background as she presents today, but I'm so super excited to have you here in the E-Suite and looking forward to talking about the money. Let's talk
Yes.
about the money and the funding.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Erica. I appreciate you inviting me to participate today, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. So, I am going to share my screen. Okay, awesome. Screen is being shared. And I am going to actually also, in the chat, I'm going to provide a link to the worksheet. If you can either download it now or you can download it later. But I'm going to go through information that's included on that worksheet from today for today's session. So looking forward to having this conversation with you all. So welcome, welcome, welcome to financing options for all phases of business. This is what I like to call show me the money because that's extremely important. And so we're going to talk about the different phases, the different things that you may experience as a business owner as it relates to having the adequate funding that you need for your business. So welcome again. This is a very critical topic. Every phase of business, as you will see as we dive into each of the deeper into the conversation, has its own needs as it relates to funding and financing. As you start to scale to different levels, you'll identify different levels of financing and funding that you may need. And as we were going through, as I was listening through the conversations this morning, I heard a couple of things, or I saw a couple of things in the chat. Christina Maria Evans mentioned that in the chat earlier that one of the concerns that she had for her business was lack of access to funds as a business owner, as a business concern. And then Emily Brown wrote in the last session that we are absolutely living in challenging times and facing unrealistic expectations, and we are. But at the end of the day, we want to be able to build the capacity. I love the conversation that Valerie had earlier today about capability versus capacity. Today, we're going to talk about how you can merge those two together, your capabilities within your business, meeting the financial capacity that you need in order to continue to scale and grow, and partner with organizations so that you have the best and most adequate working capital to help you achieve those objectives. So I believe personally that every challenge or question that we face in business is a capacity question. Every single challenge or question that we face is a capacity question. And again, today we're going to address the financial capacity question overall. So before we proceed, I want to ask you, how long, what would you like to get out of this session? Tell me in the chat what you would like to get out of the session today. What is it that you're looking to learn, looking to achieve? As Valerie said earlier, why did you show up today? I'd like to know in the chat. Let me know, what is it that you are thinking about, that you've been concerned with, that you've been considering as it relates to funding for your business. So let me know in the chat. Give me some ideas, things that you're considering that you'd like to get out of today's session. So I see Ariel is here with us today. I see Charlene is here, Monica, Jamise. If you all can just let me know what you are thinking about as it relates to funding for your business, and why is that important to you right now? So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to say something in the chat there. And while you are writing that, we'll go ahead and move on. So we've had a very interesting last 2 years, as we all know. And I can probably guess that nobody, not one person, will want to relive these past 2 years. Last year most certainly was the most intensified year that we've experienced globally. And then to this year, 2021, kind of compounded on top of that. But what I know is history, as they say, you can't move forward until you understand what you've experienced, until you understand the things that have occurred, until you understand the trends, until you can really make an assessment to put yourself in a position to break those cycles, to put yourself in a position to pivot, to put yourself in a position to continue to move forward. What I do know about 2020 and 2021 is that we have stepped into an era of change that there is no turning back. Certainly, there are things that can be corrected. There are things that we can manage through, but there are certain things that are going to remain with us from this point forward. And so it's necessary for us to be put ourselves in a position from a business perspective and from a personal perspective to be able to make certain pivots. That's what business is all about. Being able to pivot, to make breakthroughs, to establish new nuances, to identify the gaps that exist in our businesses so that we can continue to move forward under a new climate. And that's where we are. We're in a position right now where we can build brand new habits. And so when I look at 2020 and 2021, I say these are the years of the R's. These are the years of the R's. Number one is the years of reckoning. These are the years where the carpet was pulled out from underneath us, and we had to find a pathway and a way forward. We were forced to retreat in many cases, and we were forced to get back to what I call basics in business. That's what pivoting is all about. First, you retreat, you go back to the basics, you identify what is happening. You are forced to settle down, seriously, to settle down and take an assessment of your business so you can identify the things that you need to in order to continue to move forward. It was the year of realization. Okay. So in other words, we took a lot of things for granted. Seriously, prior to the pandemic, we took a lot of things for granted. Relationships, assets that we had in our portfolio that we may not necessarily have put to work for us. We took a lot of things for granted. And so from this perspective, it is time for us to really start to take heed and take value of all those things that we've collected in our businesses that can help us to continue to move the needle and continue to move forward. It has been the years of revelation. Seriously, we had to reach what I like to say rock bottom in order to take an assessment and really view our bottom lines. Life is too short. I think we all have walked away from these past 2 years with that idea. Life is too short and things don't last forever. And so if we are wanting to achieve certain big objectives, certain big goals, if we want to build our businesses so that we are leaving a legacy for our families, a legacy for the community, a legacy for ourselves to continue to move on beyond this moment in time, we have got to realize, we have got to understand that it's time for us to move forward in a new capacity and take advantage of all those things that are available to us, and seek those things out so that we can continue to move forward. It has been the years of revitalization, of reconnection, but most specifically, it has been the years of risk. We have taken on so much risk as it relates to these past 2 years. And I'm going to tell you that these are very precious moments for us. We have to be able to understand and under what it means for us to take a risk. What exactly is the risk itself? And so I want to define risk as it relates to business. So risk is, Webster defines it as situations involving exposure to uncertainty. It is the epistemic situation involving imperfect or unknown information. It applies to the ability or the need for us to make predictions of the future. It is the ability for us to make physical measurements, and it is the need for us to be able to step into the unknown and make what I like to call calculated risk. So, from a business perspective, risk is discomfort. It makes us very uncomfortable. It makes us feel like if we do something, it could be a disaster. If we do nothing, it could be a disaster. That is what risk does for us. It also, in some cases, can create division if we make certain decisions uh, based upon our current capacities and not really consider the things that we need in order to advance our business. What additional levels of capacity do we need to add to our business? But at the end of the day, risk is certainly a decision point. It is time for us to meet the road where it splits and make some determinations about how we're going to pivot along our pathway and what types of things do we need, what resources do we need in order for us to continue to move forward. We never want to be in a position where we are unstable. We never want to be in a position where we are stagnated. We never want to be in a position where our growth is stumped. And so we have to make certain decisions as it relates to the risk that we experience in business. So I want to share with you a little bit about who I am, a little more about who I am, and what it is that I have to offer the marketplace. So I do serve small businesses, specifically companies who are on the track to build their way to and through millions. And we work with companies from launch all the way up to $30 million in revenue. Our largest clients are in the $30 million range. In that capacity, we serve as virtual CFOs, and we also serve as strategic business advisors, where we help companies really take a look at their mission and marry their mission with their money so that they can continue to progress and advance profitably in a capacity where there's increased cash flow. There is always cash flowing in the business. That is our focus. I've been doing this for a long time. I heard Erica say earlier, it's been decades. You've been doing this for decades. And I hate to say it, but I have been in the business community, serving specifically the small business community for decades, 3 decades to be exact. And I bring my overall experience to the table as it relates to being a business owner myself for 24 years, also being able to bring the experience that I've had in serving the largest client on the face of this earth, the federal government. Once you've served at that level, you can pretty much serve at any level because there's so many nuances, so many rules and regulations, so many structures that you have to follow, that when you bring that structure into other marketplaces, you're able to build really good pricing strategies, really good capital strategies, really good asset building strategies to your business so that you can continue to scale. Our overall objective is to help companies grow from the inside out. And you'll see in just a moment a little bit about our business growth framework, but we do believe that business is most effective in its growth and scaling process when it starts to grow from the inside versus allowing the outside elements to dictate how we grow our businesses. Our businesses are designed, are supposed to be built by design and not by default. And that's what it means to grow business from the inside out. So this is our business growth framework. And essentially, we use this framework to help companies, again, to grow from the inside out, to help them grow to and through millions, but most specifically to scale their way to legacy. My objective is to help make certain that small businesses don't just enter the game, but they stay in the game for the long haul and really achieve their long-term goals and objectives. Your business is an asset. You want your business to start to build equities, to start building value, so that when you get 10, 20, 30 years out and you're ready to retire from your business, which is what I did with my first business. I sold it and retired from that business and started a second one. You want to be able to walk away with really good value. And so what we do here is that we help CEOs focus essentially on 4 key areas of business. And then there's a fifth that is quite silent. And that's that silent fifth area of focus actually lives right smack dab in the heart of your business. It has an impact. It impacts everything that happens in your business. Every move, every decision that occurs in the middle of your business has an impact on everything that occurs in business: the profits, the losses, the relationships that you make, that you create, the ability to build capacity within your business. That thing that occurred, that lives right smack dab in the heart of your business, is a thing that is most critical to the growth and capacity building of your organization. And that thing that lives smack dab in the middle of your business is you, the CEO, you, the business owner. Everything you think, everything you feel, everything you believe, every decision that you make, every action you take, every action you don't take, every single one of those things has an impact on your business. And so today, what I want to be able to do is I want to help you address the way that you think and you believe, the things that you think and you believe about money, the things that you think and believe about building financial capacity, the things that you think and believe about incurring capital, financing, and debt. I want to tackle those things for you today. So before we move forward, I want to ask you another question. And that question is, how long have you been in business? I don't care how long it's been, but I want to know, how long have you been in business? So while you drop that in the chat, I'm going to go back and take a look at some of the comments that you made in terms of what you'd like to get out of today. Ariel says she's curious about widening her understanding of funding options. I will absolutely tackle that today. Monica says she is looking to start an educational consulting business and wants to understand possible funding sources as she develops her plan. We will definitely talk about those things today. Jamie says she would like to learn more about how funding can help her scale. Oh my goodness. We are definitely going to talk about that. And Christina Marie says, I am looking to more about funding resources and developing my business part-time. And then Belinda says how to locate funding outside of government contracts to provide human services. All right, so we're going to address those things, but I'd like to know how long you've been in business. So I see Monica is in the process of starting her business. Is there anybody else out here who is in a different phase of business, who's been in business for a little bit longer, that has, maybe 2 to 3 years, maybe 5 years, maybe like me, you've been in business for 24 years. All right, Jamie says 6 years. Belinda says she is starting her business. All right. Christina Marie says she is beginning the process as well. So fantastic. I have something in today's session that is going to be for each and every one of you. You will all be able to walk away with nuggets and bits of information that you can take with you to help you continue to grow and scale your business. So when we think about business and risk, right? When we think about business and risk, and when we're scaling, what I want you to understand is that the fact that you started your business meant that you were in agreement to begin taking risks throughout your journey, throughout the entire long haul of you being in business. Every year, every moment, every decision has some level of risk associated with it. So there are different types of risks that you will encounter as it relates to business itself. So there's economic risks, and your economic risks are those things that are out that you have no control over. These are things that are happening outside of your business that have an impact on your business. It's the way in which the market is changing, the current market conditions, how salaries are increasing or decreasing, how certain other expenses and supplies those costs are changing. The economies, the things that are happening outside, we are experiencing the changes in economy right now as a result of the pandemic. We have no control over it, but we have to be cognizant and aware of what those risks are so that we can address them within our businesses, determine how they are actually impacting our business, and put certain things in place, whether it's resources, stop gaps, people, systems, whatever it is, put those things in place to allow us to continue to move forward to address the current needs and conditions of the economy. That's one type of risk. Another type of risk is compliance risk. Another thing that we have absolutely no control over. There are outside forces such as our politicians, our lawmakers, our tax authorities. They are the ones who are controlling certain things that we as business owners have to be compliant with. And what we want to be able to do is make calculated risks, understanding what those compliance measures are and how things are going to be changing and what impact that has on us overall, and certainly what impact it has on us from a financial standpoint. There is also security and fraud risk. And I would like to say that type of risk is kind of a hybrid, because you can control some security and fraud risk through putting certain internal control measures in place, putting certain systems in place to ensure that you're protected. And then sometimes you can't control it. There is always going to be somebody out there that is looking to acquire what you have in place. And so you want to make certain that you have the financial capacity to address those security and fraud risks. You also will have reputation risk, and that's something that is in your control. Absolutely in your control. This is all about customer service, customer satisfaction, delivery, meeting up to your obligations. You can absolutely control that, but a part of being able to control those risks is making certain that you have adequate systems and people in place to ensure that you are meeting the objectives, that your reputation outside of the organization is adequately protected and managed. And that also has some financial capacity as well. There's operational risk. There is competitive risk. Oh my goodness. When you think about the competitive risks that are associated with operating and running a business, you have to think about the prices, competitive prices. How do you compare to the marketplace? Who's out there that is potentially infiltrating and wanting to mimic what you are putting in place? And then the other risk associated with the competition is just making certain that you know who the competition is, and that you are able to address what's going on so that you don't put yourself in a position where you are becoming a commodity, which also can be a financial risk. So I think at the end of the day, every single risk that you see listed has a financial component associated with it. And so I am not mentioning these because I want you to be afraid. I am mentioning these because I want you to be aware. That is what it means to be CEO of your business, of your organization, is that you need to be aware of certain things that are happening inside and outside of your business. How do they impact our business? And then what do we need to do? What measures do we need to put in place to ensure that we are continuing to move forward with our mission in a very fiscal, a positive cash flow manner, profitable manner, so that we can continue to operate and sustain our organizations. So we want to make certain that you are aware that these things exist. So when we take a look at the key components of why certain organizations succumb in moments like a pandemic, in certain crisis, in certain risky situations, there are really three reasons why that happens. Number one, there is a breakdown in leadership decisions. Remember, I said what you think, what you believe, what you decide, how you act, that all lives right in the center of your business. And if you don't do certain things, if you don't respond or react to certain things, if you don't put certain measures in place to protect the business, if you don't make certain, create certain avenues so that you have the financial capacity to move forward, then that certainly has an impact on your business and your ability to succumb to the circumstances, the risks that are associated with internal and external exposure. Then there's also the inability to operate a profitable business model. And again, that goes back to understanding some of the competitive risk. It goes back to understanding what your customers are thinking. But most importantly, it relates to how you address the financial components internal to your organization. Are you pricing things appropriately? Is it necessary to continuously discount your offering? These types of things have an impact on your ability to build funding, to build capital, to continue to operate as a profitable organization, and to mitigate risk. And then finally, because of these two things, companies simply run out of cash, they run out of capital. And what we want to be able to do is put you in a position where you have adequate funding, adequate capital to continue to operate in a positive manner. So again, the core of all of this is making certain that we have adequacy, we have capacity, we have partnership, we have the ability, we have tools that will give us the ability to continue to move forward no matter what type of situation we find ourselves in, no matter what type of risk our business may be in at any given time. So I mentioned earlier that no matter where you are in business, there are different levels of financing and funding needs that are necessary in order for you to continue to grow and scale your organization. So this is what we call the legacy scale. And this represents the six different levels of growth, six different levels of scale that any business will experience from launch to legacy. And every single one of these levels requires a different level of financing, a different level of funding, a different level of capacity. So what I want you to understand at this moment in time is two things. Number one, you should not try or attempt to go for the gusto because if you're in the livelihood stage, because there are certain things that you want to do to build certain foundation within your business to ensure that you're ready to financially and fiscally move to the next level. So you want to understand that there will be different needs at different levels. The second thing I want you to understand before I move on to the next slide is to really take a look at this, really take a look at what you see and determine where are you? Where do you live on the scale? At what level are you in? And if you don't mind dropping that in the chat, just to let it give us an indication of where you are, because where you are will tell you not only what you need right now in your business, but it will also tell you what you're going to need in order to get to the next level. So if you're in lifestyle and you're really looking to start building out a team, start building out larger, more resources to help support your business, you're looking to pursue larger contracts, you want to stop playing small, you want to start playing a little bit larger, then you want to know, okay, so here's where I am. I'm in lifestyle right now, but these are some of the things I'm going to need in order for us to get to that leverage CEO position. So I want you, so I see Monica says she's in launch, awesome. Belinda says she's in launch position. Excellent. The key is to know where you are and know where you're headed so that you can mitigate risk. At the end of the day, mitigate risk. We know what capacity we currently have and what our capacity needs to be to get to the next level. All right, so I am going to say thank you guys for chiming in. Thank you for chatting up with me this morning. I'm going to share with you that it is a great time to be a woman in business. We are one of the fastest growing sectors in the United States right now, and have been for the last 4 years. Currently, this statistics that you see on the screen right now was taken from the National Association of Women Business Owners. If you're not familiar with that organization, I suggest that you become familiar with them. There's a lot of resources that can help you understand operations, that can help you understand scaling, that can help you understand the current status of women in business. So as you can see, there are 11.6 million companies in the United States right now that are owned by women. And those organizations employ nearly 9 million people, which is a phenomenal number. And we generate $1.7 trillion in sales. So what that says is we are absolutely necessary. We are absolutely necessary to the economy here in this country. So we are vital. We are a vital component. In addition, the American Express reports that women-owned businesses are, again, one of the fastest growing sectors in the United States. So kudos to us. The economy needs us. But when we take a deeper dive and we start to look at women in business and some of the decisions, remember, we live at the heart of our business, some of the decisions that we make, there's a couple of things that occur with us. Number one, as it relates to certain risks, as it relates to addressing certain conditions that are happening in the marketplace, in and around us, we do a little bit of retreating. And what that means is, we do what we do as women, right? We take care of everybody else first. So what that means is when we have a situation, a fiscal situation, before we start to really dig away at the gaps, identifying the gaps in our business and making overall changes, we pull our salaries off the table. We start paying ourselves. We start caring for other people first. We start pouring personal funds into the business. And I'm not going to say that you won't find yourself in a position in business where that's not necessary, but it is very, very critical for you to continue, not just to put you at the heart of the risk, but look at the entire business itself and make some fiscal decisions about the overall business and not about you first. And Erica said, you have to pay yourself. It is absolutely key and critical. One of the things I tell my clients consistently is that if your business is operating and it's got cash flow, and you've got clients paying you, you have revenue generating, but your business is not paying you an adequate or reasonable salary, if it is not paying you, then it is not a profitable, nor is it a sustainable business. And I want you to think about that. Your business is an asset. It needs to care for you at the heart of your business, and it needs to care for others, your employees, your resources, and your customers. But it has to care for you, because if it doesn't care for you, if the business is not fiscally adequate enough to care for you, then again, it's not profitable, and it's not sustainable, and it's not an equity building asset that you will be able to pull value out of later on when you're ready to retire from your business. So I want you to remember that. So here's another question for you. What is preventing you? What is preventing you from financing your dream? What is it? What is preventing you from financing your dream? And I like to know what that is. So we saw some of the things that the market said, but what is preventing you from financing your dream? And you can put that in the chat. So the rest of this session, I want to help you make some shifts in your mindset. I want you to think about um, who you need to talk to as it relates to money. Who are the advisors that can help you make real critical financial management decisions? How can you operate based off of a budget? A lot of people don't like budgets. They think that budgets are restrictive. But really, at the end of the day, when you're marrying your money with your mission, your budget is a key and critical component. Your budget is the tool that can help you understand how you can achieve the things that you want to achieve in business. So you've got to be able to understand your budget. You want to make certain that you forecast often. So it's not just about what we predicted as it relates to our budget or how we want to manage in order to achieve our mission. But it's also, there are certain things that are happening right now, and we need to put those things into the mix so that we can understand and forecast when we're going to need capital, when we're going to need funding, how much are we going to need in order to achieve our objectives. We want to make certain that we're doing that often. We want to make certain that we're building the right relationships. And I want to talk about one key relationship that is very critical to you having adequate funding. And I'm going to talk about that a little later. You want to make certain that you are utilizing the right vehicles. And that's where we will talk about the different funding vehicles that are available to you as business owners. And then you want to understand that options do exist. Options do exist. And then finally, I like to say, and I say this all the time, is that business is a team sport. And what that means is, going back to what Valerie said earlier today, capacity is a ceiling. And if we are operating solo, if we're operating on our own, if we're doing it all, we are hitting a ceiling. There is a barrier. And the only way to break through that barrier is to bring on a team. In the beginning, when you're in launch phase, your team can consist of what I call your A team. It is your tax accountant. It is your banker. It is your attorney. It is your business advisor. It is your CFO. Those are the relationships that you need to have in place, that maybe you don't use them on a regular, recurring, month by month basis, but you do use them. You do use them when you need them. You have them available to you. So you want to make certain that you understand that this is not a team sport, or that it is a team sport. So this is a quote that comes from my book, Beyond the Plateau, 5 Simple Steps to Scale Your Way to $1 Million Business. And it says, I honestly believe this, and I know this to be true. Money is a tool to help you achieve your future desires. Financing is a tool to help you bridge the gap between money flows. Financing is meant to supplement you, not sustain you. A lack of financing will stunt your growth, and a lack of financing can shut you down. So I want you to make certain that you have adequate capital. And when you do have adequate capital, this is what can happen for you. These are all the things that I have been able to build in my business over the long haul as a relate of partnering and bringing in funding and financing from different sources. So yes, personal things occurred because I pay my salary. I pay myself a really good salary. So vacations in my home and vehicles. Those are things I've been able to do. I've been able to invest in my 401k nest egg. But most importantly, I've been able to build a team of people. I've been able to implement an internship program and pay those interns. I bought my building that my business operates out of, made other investments outside of my business, and then also put my children to and through college debt free. So that is what you want to make certain that you are able to do. And that is through building the adequate financial capacity. So financing is a key component. And these are the ways in which I have financed. I've been able to finance certain things in my business. One is through equity. So I understand that equity builds the value of your asset, but equity also gives you the ability to invest in certain things that you need to scale your business. So building your team, you've got to have profit, you got to build equity, you got to build cash flow, and those things you can then use to invest in the growth of your business. I also use credit cards in the very beginning, from launch to livelihood of my business. In that phase, credit cards were extremely important. They helped me finance a lot of different things. I pulled cash off off of credit cards in the very beginning. Also, microloans. There are a lot of banks and financial institutions that will offer you a loan to help you start your business, to help you manage through growth of your business, that are considered to be $25,000 or less. And they're really, really good loans that are accessible to you. A line of credit. Once I started to really grow out my team, and we had larger contracts that we were pursuing, there's a gap between payroll and the payment of your customer receipts coming in the door. And so we used a line of credit to make certain that we didn't miss payroll. So we didn't miss a gap. We didn't miss a beat. The SBA has 504 loans. That was key and critical for me to purchase my building. And then finally, equipment leasing. That is one of the key areas that we've utilized to help purchase computers, to help purchase the big Xerox machines. We've used equipment leases to ensure that I want to keep my cash flowing. So let's go ahead and make these purchases on a lease so that we are paying for them in smaller increments, and I can continue to increase my cash flow. One thing I've never done personally is use my personal money and to help finance anything in my business. Not once, not even when I first started. Never once did I use my personal money. So I want you to know that there are options available to you. You just want to make certain that you're like naughty by nature and you are down with OPP. And what that means is that you're interested in using other people's profits to help you grow your business. Profits from a banker, from grant offers. You want to be able to use those funds. So here's another question for you. Tell me the top 3 things you would like to do right now if you had the money. If you had the money, what would you do right now? And put that in the chat for me. So when is it a good time? When is it a good idea to start identifying financing? So when you're in a startup phase, so many of you are in that launch phase. So you want to consider some type of capital, working capital that can help you launch that business. When you are expanding your service offerings, sometimes expanding your offerings is just like starting a brand new business, and you need the financing to help you kick that new offering off. I did that when I started my second business. When I sold the first one and I started the second one, I needed financing. I didn't want to use my money. Sure didn't. I wanted to leverage other people's profits. You want to be able to secure financing when you are securing talent and building your infrastructure. When you want to build business credit. So one of the key questions I get and key concerns I get from business owners is I don't want to borrow money because I don't want it to be relying upon my personal credit. Well, let me tell you, unless you're Jeff Bezos or some of these other really large organizations, your business credit is going to be relying upon you personally. But let me tell you what that's done for me. Building my personal credit in conjunction with building my business credit has put me in a position where I didn't even know this was possible, where my credit score is 864. Didn't even know it could be that high. But my credit score is 864 because I have the combination of my personal and my business credit working for me. So get that myth out of your head. If we use credit right, if we use other people's profits appropriately, it might not hinder us. It will better us. Okay. When you need to bridge cash flow gaps, financing is not revenue. It is just there to help bridge the gap between the outflow and the inflow. Okay. And when you're have other growth opportunities, when you're thinking about acquiring another business, building business through acquisitions, when you're looking to partner with others, and in some cases, companies have used financing to help pay off taxes. Okay. I'm not recommending that, but some have done that. When is it a bad idea? It's a bad idea when you want to buy shiny objects. Remember, as businesses, we are building equity in our companies. We're building value in our businesses. So the shiny objects can come later. They don't add value to you. They don't add value to your business, make you look good, but they don't add value. So it's not good to do it then. It's not good when to use credit to max out on your credit cards. It's not good to do that. It's not good to make impulsive buys. You want to make really good, solid business decisions. All right. So here's where we are as it relates to the different phases of business and what financing needs you may have and which you may want to consider, the different types of vehicles you may want to consider at different phases. So I am going to focus in on the financing levels. So when you're in startup phase, which I see many of you are, you want to make certain that you consider microloans through your bank. Credit cards will help. And then also any type of small lines of credit can help you actually get that business started. When you're in the growth phase, definitely a line of credit. Credit cards continue to be a key component of how you will continue to facilitate purchases. And then also capital loans to help you make those purchases as you start to acquire certain types of assets within your business. And then when you're in expansion mode, you may want to consider real estate. You may want to think about buying your office space instead of leasing it if you are operating out of space. And so you want to consider that. Lines of credit and credit cards, capital loans will continue to play a role. And then when you're in maturity phase, definitely we're talking about, different types of growth measures. And so maybe we want to do some type of merger and acquisition financing in addition to the lines of credit that we have to help bridge the gap in our business, the cash flow gaps. So these are the different things that you want to consider. You don't want to necessarily think about the larger loans, the larger lines of credit if you're not in that phase of business. The key rule of thumb is this. If you're looking to borrow money from a banker, your line of credit, if you're going to apply for a line of credit, your line of credit generally will be 10% of your annual revenue. 10% of your annual revenue. So that'll give you an idea of what you might be able to qualify for. So keep that in mind. So next question is, what phase are you in? We've already addressed that. And what level of funding do you need right now? And you can write that in your worksheet. All right. So here are the financing options that are available to you. So the first, and they are listed in order of risk. So green means the least risky to you, and the red means the highest level of risk. Okay. And so the first are your three amigos. Sometimes it's me, myself, and I, but I don't want you to use your personal funds if you don't have to. So the three amigos in that case would then be your friends, your families, and your colleagues. Anybody that is interested in investing in you in the very beginning. Credit unions are really, really good source of financing. Limited risk, really good rates. I would consider, and they're now doing business lending. So I would consider a credit union. Then you have your traditional bankers. There may be a little bit more risk there. And I say that because, and we'll talk about this in a few moments, but they may require a little bit more from you, and the interest rate may be a little bit higher. Okay. Micro lenders, and then private equity firms. Private equity firms generally want a little bit of the pie. They want a piece of the pie. So you want to make certain that if you're going to obtain private equity financing or funds, that you understand that they want a little slice of the pie. They want to private equity. They want some equity out of your business. And that's why that is moderate risk. The high risk is online merchant accounts like PayPal, Square, Cabbage. They now offer financing through your receivables. So if you have a good amount of revenue that's coming through those accounts, they will finance you, but the interest rate is crazy high. So just understand that. That's why risk is high. And then factoring companies, you can sell your receivables to a factoring company. So when you bill your customer, you can take that invoice to and that customer hasn't paid you. You can take that invoice to a factoring company and they'll give you 90 cents on a dollar for that invoice, but the fees are going to be very, very high. So just understand that. So quick money has high fees and interest rates. Slower money, more relationship driven money will give you better terms and conditions. And then you also have other sources of financing, which is through your own equity. Like I said, you can start to use your equity, self-finance the company, the business. You have to be profitable to do that. Establishing vendor credit. We talked about credit cards earlier, equipment leasing, we talked about. And then the Small Business Administration has a lot of programs that we're going to talk about next in just a moment. And then crowdfunding is another way to start to build financing. And then what's not here is through grants. You can also identify different grants that are earmarked for business owners. All right. So let's talk about small business grants. There's a lot of different small business grants that are available to you. And I will tell you that finding a grant and applying for a grant can be a full-time job. What I want you to do more than identifying grants is really put your energies and efforts into building revenue generating opportunities. Find those contracts, find those clients, get that money in the door. But in the meantime, right now is a really good time to identify grants that may be working for you. So I've listed here and also included in your worksheet are different grants that are available to small businesses. There are companies like American Express and Visa, Verizon, and what's the cable company? Comcast. They actually have grants that they offer to small businesses at certain times of the year. So I would start tapping into those organizations. In a lot of cases, yes, you do have to apply. Sometimes it's through a contest that you may be given a grant, but I would take a look at that. Federal Express does an annual grant every single year for small businesses. I've provided the link there. The Amber Grant for Women, this is specifically for women in business. They offer a grant to women as well. So I would take a look at what their qualifications or requirements are and see if there's an opportunity for you to apply. SBA offers certain grants. They have what they call Innovate Her that they provide to women in business on an annual basis. And they open up their applications in the fall. So you want to take a look at that. And then also grants.gov. That is a sea of grants that may be available to you as business owners for different things. So I would take a look at those areas if you're looking to obtain funding through grants. Okay. The different financing options that are available to you through bankers, which I think are very important that you should know. A lot of people don't know that there are different levels of financing that you can get, and you can get it based upon the level of business that you're in. So there are micro purchase lines of credit of less than $100,000. You can get a micro purchase, and the interest rates are not bad, and they don't put you through a lot of hoops. If it's $25,000 or less, they won't ask you for any type of collateral. They won't ask you for that. Your business is the collateral. Once you get over 25,000, they may ask you for some collateral. They may ask you to personally collateralize. But there are purchase loans that are available to you as a small business, even at the launch and startup phase. There's short-term working capital, such as lines of credits. I personally love lines of credit. There is a certain way that you can establish a line of credit, structure it within your business so that you can always be self-financing. So lines of credit work. SBA offers a lot of lending options to small businesses, but just understand SBA is not the lender. Except for the PPP loan, the Paycheck Protection loan that they put out, that they offered, and then the EIDL loan that they offered, disaster loan that they offered. They're not lending money to organizations. They partner with banks, and through that partnership, they create situations where your interest rate is not as high, and SBA will back a component of the loan. Doesn't mean that you don't pay it all back. It means that they will back. So it's not necessarily all relying upon your personal credit history. So I want to make certain that you understand that SBA is a huge, huge resource for financing and lending. And then also, they also offer different construction loans. They offer real estate loans. As I mentioned before, I use SBA's 504 loan program to purchase my building. Whereas if I had gone to straight to a commercial lender, the terms and conditions may not have been as favorable for me. Okay. So SBA, I want you to spend a lot of time with SBA's website because there's a lot of financing opportunities. They have what they call the 504 loans, and the requirements right now that we are in the pandemic, the interest rates are lower, significantly lower, and the entry points in terms of credit score are lower as well. So you want to take advantage of the programs that are available to you. So they have the 504 loans, they have the 7A loans, and then they have the express loans. Again, SBA is not giving you the money, but you're partnering with SBA and your bank to obtain these loans. So instead of going directly to a regular commercial financing vehicle, you can use a SBA vehicle that will give you more favorable terms, and paperwork is a little more extensive. However, they can finance you for longer terms than a bank would. In many cases, SBA offered 30-year term programs where the bank is only offering up to 10 years. So I would take a look at SBA's programs. There are investment funds in different areas. In the Washington, D.C. area, we have the Washington Area Community Investment Fund, also known as WACIF. They have financing counselors that will take a look at where you are in your business and help you to obtain the level of financing that is necessary for you to help continue operations. Your business, your state business and development centers are necessary. They also provide funding vehicles, as well as your local economic development corporations. I'm located in Maryland. So what I have listed here are the Maryland websites, but you want to make certain that if you're not in the DC area, Washington, DC area, you're not in Maryland, take a look at what your state has to offer and what your county has to offer as it relates to small business development. Okay. So relationships, and this is related to banking relationships. What I want you to know is that now all banks are created equal. And I want you to understand, as a small business, you want to make certain that you are establishing the right relationship. So there are large banks, there are smaller community banks, and there are credit unions. I believe that you should have all three. The larger banks are for convenience. Okay, so what that means is I can run to any corner in any city, in any state, and I can make a deposit or I can make a withdrawal from that bank because it's convenient for me to have it. But 9 times out of 10, the larger banks are going to have a hard time helping you as a small business. They are mainly focused on larger corporations. So it's going to be more difficult for you to get some of the financing and funding that you need. The community banks are the ones who are there to help build relationships. They are hungry for your business. They're more flexible, and they're willing and interested in helping you advance and grow your business, because what? They get to grow with you as well. So I would take a look at some of your local community banks. And you would know who they are because they have community behind their name. Okay. And then finally, credit unions. Credit unions are for what I call benefits. Okay. Credit unions give you really good interest rates. Credit unions give you really good programs, but they have very limited business opportunities. You want them for benefits because you can get some of the lower interest rates, and you can also offer benefits of membership to your employees. So you want to think about those types of banks, the relationships. As a small business, you want a relationship banker, somebody that you can pick up the phone and have a conversation with about your business plan, where the business is going, and how much funding you can need, and how quickly they can turn that funding around for you makes a difference. And 9 times out of 10, for a small business, it's going to be a local community bank. So that is your relationships. I like to say, from a banker's perspective, the bank should not be your only source of funding. You want to create a balanced mix. You want to use your equity. You want to finance. You want to use your banker. And to the extent that you can engage in grants, you want to identify that as well. But more importantly, you want to go out there and get that revenue. You want to go build your portfolio of clients so that you have that money flowing in and that profitability and cash flow that is flowing in a positive manner that puts you in a position where you can continue to sustain regardless of the type of risk that you have in place. When you have the right partner in place, it doesn't matter what's happening. They're there to help you manage through those risky situations.